All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to the Super Bowl video. Super Bowl 59, we got the Eagles taking on the Chiefs. In today's video, I'm going to dive into this matchup. I'm going to give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props, and I have a few novelty props that I'm liking as of right now as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye down on the pinned comment of this video. That'll take you to all of my final plays, so I'm actually rolling with myself. Absolutely free down in the pinned comment. And honestly, with all of those special props and whatnot going on, we may add some plays. So make sure to keep an eye on that pinned comment over on the Guy Bosses Sports site. All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. I tell you guys I'm a dummy all the time. They don't suck. They've just been sucking. Get them down to -3 for more juice than Jose Canseco in his prime. Tell me you're new without telling me you're new. So don't go jumping down my throat in the comments, right? If you want to fade me, or if you do want to ride me, this still leaves a bad taste in my mouth, right? And remember, more chins, more wins. So like I said, we may add some stuff because we've granted ourselves, I would say, the right to have some fun with this Super Bowl, right? On the season, you can see right down here in this table, up 53.23 units on the NFL season, 63.7% hit rate this year. Let's pump in some damn crowd noise for that. I mean, I'm very proud of those numbers. Definitely better than last season. So yeah, very excited for this game here. And like I said, planning on adding some plays most likely as well as we get closer to game time, because there are some fun ones that we can add in. And like I said, we've kind of earned the right to have a little bit of fun here. I know we're going to get some comments from some of you guys being like, oh no, you shouldn't play with that and all that. It's like, no. Let's have some fun. A lot of this has to do with entertainment, right? But nonetheless, we've had a good NFL season. What are we doing in this one? Now, we have the Eagles' future to win the Super Bowl at plus 1,400. So obviously that's in the back of my head, and I've seen the comments during the playoffs of, you're clearly biased, you're just rooting for the team you have the future on and all that. I'm not going to do that in this video. I'm going to try not to do that in this video, I should say. I'm going to treat this absolutely in a vacuum. I'm still deciding if I want to somehow hedge it or try and play a middle with the Chiefs and an alternate line, something like that, right? That's all separate from me breaking down this game and talking about spots that I think are valuable information, right? So yeah, keeping that aside, and it might surprise you who I'm leaning towards in those once we get into it. So let's do just that, guys. Hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. Appreciate everyone that has supported throughout the NFL season. Seriously, during this NFL season, we had 100K. We had a lot of cool stuff happen. So appreciate the heck out of you guys. Let's dive into this one. We got the Eagles taking on the Chiefs right now. Eagles +1, Chiefs -1. The total sitting at 48.5. Let's talk about the quarterbacks here because I'm a little on the fence on where I stand for both of them. So we know this Eagles defense is going to pressure the quarterback, right? And Patrick Mahomes, by the numbers, yes, his numbers do dip a little bit against pressure. Let's also throw in the fact that this is the Super Bowl and Patrick Mahomes, that might as well be his middle name at this point, right? So anything that we go through in these data points and things we touch on, obviously take them with a grain of salt, because sometimes once that coin toss goes up for the Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes goes, who cares about the data? I'm going to make plays, right? So that is worth noting. But overall, his numbers do drop against pressure, which this Eagles team definitely pressures. Plenty, right? Top 10 pressure team since week 12 of this NFL season. They, not necessarily, I wouldn't sit here and say that they call up blitzes a lot, but they apply the pressure as if they're calling blitz. They have some beasts on that defensive line, right? Mahomes, like I mentioned, not all that great against pressure, and the Eagles are going to be running a decent amount of man. They've run more man coverage since week 12, which that's kind of just the bookmark point that I've looked at from that point on, and they run a lot more man. Mahomes isn't all that great against man. He's been dotting up zone, but as we know, he's had kind of an up and down season, right? Against man coverage, he has struggled. So I think that those are 2 points that, sure, they could favor the Eagles, but like I mentioned, when push comes to shove, no pun intended, I think Mahomes is still going to make plays against man coverage and whatnot, right? It would almost be like a dream matchup if he were to see a lot of zone, but he's going to see a lot of man. I don't think it's a nightmare situation. Like I said, I'm kind of still on the fence as to what to make of it, but just FYI, a lot of pressure, a lot of man, that's what we're probably going to see here. In terms of safety coverage, Eagles run a ton of one-high safety looks. Mahomes against one-high safeties, not all that bad. Yards per attempt goes up, success rate goes up, EPA goes up, DVOA goes up. So sure, he could kind of eat there. Now flipping it over to the Jalen Hurts situation. This Chiefs team, like the Eagles, will put a ton of pressure here on the quarterback. We know that, right? They're going to get to him, I believe, at I think as of last week, they were the number 7 team since week 12 in terms of pressure rate, which doesn't bode all that well for Jalen Hurts. And throwing the fact that they're going to blitz also doesn't bode all that well for Jalen Hurts. But Washington actually pressured the quarterback a lot in that time frame as well. And Jalen Hurts had a pretty good game against Washington, all things considered. 20 of 28, 246, and a tutty, right? So, yeah, I do think that there's some credibility here to say Jalen Hurts, of course, isn't in the best situation, but this offensive line, and they should be healthy. I know we've had some issues with interior offensive line and whatnot, but as of right now, things are looking good for them. Fingers crossed if you're liking the Eagles, right? And I guess fingers crossed for my future, because obviously, Jurgens being banged up, like all of that matters, the offensive line. But if healthy and they can fend off the pressure of the Chiefs and the blitz attack of the Chiefs, Jalen Hurts should be in somewhat of a comfortable spot as well, because this Chiefs team in the last few weeks here has been running a lot more man than zone, which should not be shocking to anybody. That's kind of the Chiefs' MO, right? Jalen Hurts, surprisingly, very good against man coverage. Zone is where he has struggled, but against man, YPA goes up, his success rate goes up, his EPA goes up, his DVOA goes up. Only things that kind of go down are his completion percentage, very marginally, and then his accuracy does drop a decent amount from 81% down to 73%, but 73% is still okay, right? So I think Jalen Hurts could be in a decent situation here. When we look at the 2 high safety and 1 high safety, kind of in between. Really doesn't matter for Jalen Hurts. So, like I said, kind of on the fence here in terms of who has the quarterback edge. I think the easy answer would be Patrick Mahomes, right? Because he has even more experience than Jalen Hurts here, which is crazy to say because Jalen Hurts has Super Bowl experience going up against this guy, but Mahomes, just one of the greatest, has tons of experience Super Bowl-wise, and I do think that him and Andy Reid are a way better tandem than Jalen Hurts and Sirianni. So, yeah, I think that this is probably a slight edge to Mahomes in the quarterback game, but when we flip it to the run game, Eagles have a strong advantage. This has not been the best defense against the rush recently for the Chiefs. Has it really mattered? I guess you could say not necessarily, right? They're still winning games, but overall, facts are facts. This could be a spot where, Saquon Barkley kind of lights them up. But you're telling me that this Chiefs team, well coached and all, isn't sitting there going like, how do we throw Saquon off his game? They have to be sitting there thinking about that, right? So to me, that run game isn't going to be enough. Unfortunately, because it's what I'm rooting for, but isn't going to be enough to put the Eagles over the top in this one. I'm going to lean towards the Chiefs on the money line or minus the 1 point, depending on what you get it at. Now, do I lock this in as a final play? I still got this dumb brain trying to contemplate that because, like I mentioned, we do have the future. We could throw in a money line play and hedge and guarantee profit, right? Still kind of kicking that one around, but keep an eye on the pin comment. It'll take you to the final plays to let you know. But like I said, I'm just throwing some of the data points out the window, which isn't always the smartest, but I'm looking at Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes saying, how, right? Like they're built for this type of a game. They just are. I will give the Eagles credit and the Chiefs defense credit, and the Eagles defense, I meant to say, credit because, yeah, I think that this could be a game in which we see under 48.5. Now, someone sees that and they're like, what are you talking about? Super Bowls all the time or shootouts? Last time we saw those two teams, it was a shootout and all that. I do understand that, and I can't sit here and tell you that it won't be a shootout, right? But if you just kind of strip out that massive fourth quarter from the Chiefs in that previous Super Bowl with these two squads, the score isn't like they scored, I think, 17 points in the fourth, right? Like you strip that down, it's not looking all that crazy. And you have two of the better defenses in the league. You have the number 1 defense in the Eagles in terms of points per game in the regular season, and then the Chiefs, who were the number 3 team. Yes, you have amazing offenses, but I do think that the defense is going to rise to the top here, and we'll see, I guess what you could say is a fairly rare Super Bowl low-scoring game. Now, let me look up the most recent Super Bowl scores here real time. So Super Bowls, obviously we just talked about that one. Last year, 47, so under this line. The year before that was the Chiefs-Eagles. That one went over. The Rams-Bengals, not all that tremendous. The Bucks one. See, so some of these numbers, even though you think about fireworks with the Super Bowl, these numbers aren't all that shootout real. Like, you know what I mean? Like Buccaneers and Chiefs, 40, 49ers Chiefs, 31-20. Okay, that one went over the line. Right before that, Patriots Rams, ugly Super Bowl. Now we're dating back years and years. So I think that this is a little bit too high and a little bit inflated because of what we saw a couple years back. Yes, they have so much talent. I understand that. I have some player props that I'm liking overs on, which obviously the over in the game would be the move, but screw it. I'm trusting the defenses in this spot. Now, before we do get into our other plays here and some of our player props, I want to talk to you guys about a freebie over on Sleeper Picks. Patrick Mahomes, 0.5 passing yards. Hey, do you think Patrick Mahomes is going to get 0.5 passing yards? Duh. Go check it out, guys. That link is going to be in the description, as well as the pinned comment. You'll also get this Play 5, get $55 back promo. Unbelievable promo that they're doing. I don't know how long they'll do it for, but if you are, if Sleeper is available in your state and you are not on it yet, go take advantage of this. Get that Mahomes free square, as well as that Play 5, get 55 promo as well. Absolutely a no-brainer. Go ahead and check it out. Again, that link will be down below in the description, as well as the pinned comment. But like I said, a few player props here that I do want to jump into. And one of these I've actually already locked in, and I got some nice value on it as of right now. So we're over on the Outlier screen. Link for Outlier down in the description, 7-day free trial. I like Jalen Hurts over in his rush attempts. He hit this last time they played in the Super Bowl, and yes, he didn't hit it last week. I understand that, and maybe he was a little banged up. We talked about him having the knee issue and all of that, but I do think in a game in which this is going to be a spot that the Chiefs pressure a lot, if we see him get pressured, you can see all of a sudden we're starting to see more and more rushing yards from him, the more and more pressure that we see. When team pressures 25 or more % of the time, 39 average rushing yards in his last 10. On the season, 5 of 9 games he hit it in. I think this Chiefs team is going to pressure him. Last time he played them, this is not encompassing of the Super Bowl, but he only had, 29 rushing yards. But to me, again, it all comes down to the pressure that I believe we will see in terms of him going up against the Chiefs this week. And it's 38.5 right now. I got this at 36.5, which you could still get right now, but tons of places at 38.5. So I don't know which one's going to be the closing number, but I got it at -110 at 36.5. You could still see it right now, but obviously some places they're bumping it up to 38.5. So if you do like this one, you want to jump on board maybe sooner rather than later, because those 2 yards could make a difference. Like, realistically speaking, those 2 yards could be one tush push. You know what I mean? Like, I think that matters for Jalen Hurts. Now, the next spot we'll look at here, we'll stick in the quarterback realm. How can we not look at Patrick Mahomes over 1.5 passing touchdowns? Last time he played them, again, not Super Bowl included, he did throw for 2 touchdowns here. On the year, he's hit this in just 44% of games. But like I mentioned, some of these weren't all that competitive. Not against the I guess some of these were competitive, but early on in the year, right? Look at non-competitive, not actually fairly competitive. But to be honest, like I said with Patrick Mahomes, I think there's got to be some degree of us throwing out data points. As crazy as it is to say, like, this should be a team in which they just elevate, and who's going to elevate the most? Patrick Mahomes. So him to throw 2 touchdowns here doesn't seem all that shocking to me, especially when I don't know if this run game is all that established of Kansas City, right? Next one I'm looking at here is going to be Dallas Goedert over 4.5 receptions. This is a Kansas City team that has struggled against tight ends. We've seen it multiple times in the playoffs and the regular season. I also considered his receiving yards, which I believe were 49.5. Let me see if I can find them. 49.5. Yeah, I don't mind this spot. He could definitely take one for a decent length. I don't mind his over 19.5 longest receptions, but I think he could be somewhat of a little binky for Jalen Hurts if he gets pressured a lot and everything like that. So yeah, I'm looking at the matchup, liking that, and then also the fact that only 5 catches, which, yes, he's only hitting 3 of his last 5, or 3 of his last 10, but he's getting a decent amount of targets as of late, right? If we look at his last 5 games, he's getting 6 targets per game. He can't reel in 5 of those, especially if I believe they're going to be some easy dump-off passes. So Dallas Goedert, we're getting it at a bad line. Last week, we crushed his receiving yards line because it was so low. Now it's like 10 yards higher. So yeah, we've lost a little bit of value compared to last week, but I still do think this should be a weak spot. And then one that you guys may make fun of me for, because we cashed it last week, his receptions line, not his yards, but how can this team not force feed A.J. Brown in a matchup in which he's such a man eater? Chiefs are going to play a lot of man defense, and A.J. Brown had like 96, a touchdown, and 6 catches in that last Super Bowl. I know there's been all the talk of, oh, well, he hasn't been good, or him and Jalen, blah, 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 blah. That's all hoopla to me. We saw it last week. They dominated Washington. He had 96 yards. He had 8 targets and reeled it in, 8 targets and reeled it in 7 times, right? Or 6 times. Like, that's okay with me. I also don't mind his over 5.5 receptions for plus money, but it has to stay right at that plus money. Any lower than this, I'm not exactly loving it. So, yeah, A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, Jalen Hurts, and Patrick Mahomes are spots that I'm looking at as of right now. But like I mentioned, we may be adding some stuff, and we may be liking some other spots as well. So, couple things. I have them written down here just so I can go through them. A couple other spots that I've already locked in, right, that not locked in, actually. Yeah, I guess these three I have. So any non-quarterback passing touchdown, 0.1 units on plus 2,000 odds, okay? And then any QB receiving touchdown for plus 7,000 odds, 0.1 unit. That's the type of stuff I'm talking about when I say that we've kind of earned the right to have some fun here, right? Like, just a couple sprinkles, but for some serious odds, plus 2,000 and plus 7,000 again. Any non-quarterback passing touchdown, and then any QB receiving touchdown. If we get any sort of Philly special or anything like that, both of those cash, that'd be pretty electric. And then one that I really do like, I'm still hoping that we got good odds on this because we got it at minus 140, it looks like, but the largest lead under 14.5, meaning that a team can go up by 14 and we're still covering this. The minute a team leads by 15 in this game, kaput, it's gone. But I think this could be a fairly close game, especially if the Eagles try to establish the run and control the clock that way. So that's one of my favorite plays this week. We do have, I believe we put I'll have to check, but I think we put a full or a half unit on that. In the pinned comment, it'll be updated with the correct. But again, those are the props we have as of right now, but we may throw in some Gatorade stuff. We may throw in some national anthem over under. Just keep an eye on the pinned comment. And before I do let you go, I want to just say thank you again. Like, this NFL season was amazing. Views were great. Ton of new subscribers from the NFL. I really do appreciate it. We put in a lot of work around here, but it's work that I love doing, right? And this was the first year that we've done the NFL while being full-time, and I think that our numbers speak for themselves in terms of success rate. I never claim to be an expert or a pro or anything like that, right? I think of myself as an average Joe bettor that likes to make YouTube videos, but you guys have been super, super supportive and just accepting of that, right? And by doing so, we got hot and we had a great NFL season. So I truly do appreciate you guys. If you made it this far in the video, go ahead and comment 16. I know we're past the 16-minute mark, but thank you guys so much. And that 16 lets me know that you've heard this little rant because I do mean it. I never take any of this stuff for granted. Not to get sappy at the end of the video, but I do really appreciate it and love the fact that you guys have been so supportive. So with that being said, catch you guys in the next one. Not an NFL video, but the next video. Peace out.